Hello, Story Seekers. I'm Nico.
I'm Ben, and you're listening to The Tiny Bookcase.
Our guest for this episode joins us from Germany and is a writer of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror.
His novel, A Crow Named Torment, is a fable about journeys inward and onward into the unknown, featuring mad scholars, vampires from the dawn of time, animal familiars, and giant slugs, among many other oddities. We would like to warmly welcome Silas A. Bischoff.
Hello, Silas.
Hello, guys. It was the first time I heard my blurb read out.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Lifted entirely from Silas's website, which you should all go to in order to buy a copy of his book. What's your website, Silas?
My website is morbidtastepublishing.com.
Fantastic.
And that's the only website I have. So I have another one for IT services, but you probably won't need that.
We won't go to that one.
So if you had to pick, would you go with cats or dogs?
That's your first question, Robert. I don't remember that from any of the other episodes. Both. I'd say dogs. I had both. Now I only have a dog left. I loved all of them, but the dog is considerably less messy in the apartment.
The dog was less messy than the cat.
Yeah. Are your dogs messy?
Well, they were when I was a kid. I don't have any dogs at the moment. I am aware that, like, Nico, your cat is an absolute savage, isn't it? But it's very cute, but an absolute savage.
She can be. She likes things that are soft and likes to make them even softer by disintegrating them into a pile of small, fluffy things.
And how many scars do you have?
Oh, many. Apparently, I too am soft and am to be disintegrated.
Already two kinds of messes that well-behaved dogs do not tend to make.
Say that again for me, sorry.
Is my mic off again? No.
No.
There was two kinds of messes that well-behaved dogs usually don't cause. So
yeah, it's true. If a cat accidentally scratches you, it's that you get scratched. If a dog decides it's going to hurt you, it's game over a lot of the time, isn't it? That's big business.
Does it depend on the size of the dog? I feel like a Dachshund isn't going to be able to do much to you. But
I reckon 3 Chihuahuas in the trench coat could take any of us down, given time and preparation.
So is that only because we wouldn't fight back, though? I think that's the key one there.
Oh, maybe. Are you a Chihuahua pacifist? Are you a Chihuahua pacifist, Silas?
I am actually 3 Chihuahuas in a trench coat. Is the ultimate reveal.
Right, come on. Enough of 3 Chihuahuas. Let's have 3 stories instead, I reckon, because that's why we're here. We're going to read some stories all written to the same prompt, and this week that prompt is Soar. Ben, you're reading first. Let your tale take flight.
Soar. I read in the eye of God that today is an auspicious day to finally see the royal Shah again. The men escorting him through the town ignored him with cold indifference. They turned their shoulders against his words, just as they had when they first met him, all those years ago. He continued along with them in silence for several minutes, and allowed his mind that time to solve his predicament. Their path wound up through the city towards where the palace nestled amongst the jagged peaks of the Star Mountains. Those peaks were not the dull lumps of stone found in the south, all carpeted with blank whiteness in winter. Instead, the light of noon glimmered across their dual rock flesh and transformed them into a sparkling stairway to the sky. What mood is Shah Safa in? The magician broke the silence again. He kept the panic he felt from influencing his breath, but noted that the city smelled of doused fire and fear. He is resolved, said the tall man, who, though he limped, set the pace for their small group through the too quiet city. When his prince is resolved, it endears a man to have friends such as you, fine gentlemen. We are not your friends, magician. Is that so, Azadan Abu? Did I not inform you when the stars foretold the conception of the sun you had waited so long for? And you, Azadan Javad, who was it that fashioned the scopes we use to study the eye of God. The glass from royal orders placed with your artisans has brought you great comfort, has it not? Azadan Nasir, who once begged me to guide his wayward brother, did I not foretell his life with the utmost accuracy? Where have I failed in my friendships with you? The 3 Azadans did not reply, but marched him on and through the square of soothsayers. The meteoric rise of the magician had caused a boom in those trading on his profession's good name. They had converted the square into a holy site for those who indulged in nonsense. Pilgrims travelled from far around, and when they could not gain an audience with the man himself, they looked to lesser astrologers and tarot readers. There, they were encouraged to inhale Ganzi smoke and listen to half-baked prophecies formed from meaningless observances of the night sky. Every roof of every building had been cut to allow telescopes to poke out and trace the stars like a half-literate person follows words on a page with their finger. The magician saw that all of those glittering tubes had been ripped from their seats and thrown from the roofs to smash on the cobbles of the square. Broken glass crunched under his boots, and he saw the scars of small fires and forced doors where his lesser colleagues had been run out of town. He wrinkled his brow and blinked away the sweat that prickled his face. I shall perhaps read cards for the king if he has no love for the stars, said the magician, attempting magnanimity. You will read neither sky nor tarot for the king any more. He has cast aside the Ganzi pipe you pressed between his lips. Abu did not hide his anger and continued. My son and heir was indeed born of your advice. If that was written in the stars, was not also written his death in battle? Your radical ideas led us to break with our allies and fomented conflict. I do not need a telescope to see your hand in the war that killed him. The magician winced and closed his eyes for a moment, remembering the choice he had made not to look at the boy's fate all those years ago. When he opened his eyes, he saw they had turned from the main street and were now walking towards the peaks. A long-suppressed coil of fear in his belly flexed the edges of his composure. My artisans, in which I have invested so much, spoke Javad wearily from behind the magician, will have no more work from you and yours. Lenses are now forbidden by royal proclamation. The magician clenched his teeth to stop them from chattering. The cold air, which he had never truly felt before in his life, seemed to seep into him. It slowed his feet, but Nasir shoved him to keep up to their pace and snarled in his ear. My brother, consumed by the accuracy of your predictions, has been convinced that he lacks free will. He does nothing but shuffle and gibber about my house during the day until it is time to do as his stars instruct. He takes his meals alone for fear of upsetting my children. His screams keep me awake at night, but he will not take his own life, for that is not written in your stars. Gentlemen, where am I being taken? Asked the magician, but the 3 Azadans did not reply. The streets remained empty as they reached the outskirts of the city. To the north, the pink marble of the palace beckoned him, but he knew that he would not be able to outrun the men, nor be sure of an audience if he reached the court he had been master of for so many years. Instead, he forced his feet to climb the hewn stairs as the road narrowed to a mountain path. His breath smoked in front of him, and the clouds of vapour crystallized in his long beard. It was a walk he had done many times, and it had never occurred to him that the last time would be so soon. Why, he berated himself, why had he not looked into the eye of God for his own fate? The answer was simple, but his arrogance did not let him see the madness which would have come for him if he had. A hole of self-pity opened up in his normally sharp mind. Does the Shah know I am to die at this hour? He does. He says, you have flown too high. Javad's decency fell on the mage like an executioner's axe. He felt the absurd need to run around, to rend his clothes, to fight them. He mastered the impulses, but could not stop the tears which soaked his cheeks. There is no one else that can understand the eye of God as I can. It was not an attempt to bargain with his jailers, but a statement of their loss. The Shah is written there to do great and terrible things, truly great and truly terrible. He will miss my counsel. The magician turned to Javad. You will see old age, and know then that I have spoken truly today. Javad paled when he recognized the words of prophecy. Stop, commanded the old Abu, but the magician spoke on. You, Azadan Abu, will not see the end of this year. Silence! The magician ignored him and turned to Nasir. Your brother screams because he knows he will soon kill you and take what is yours. Your house will rise to royalty from his line. Nasir recoiled as though he had been struck, and Abu sank his fist into the magician's belly. Be silent, or I will gag you. Abu dragged him up from where he had doubled over, and then pushed him so the magician was forced to stumble ahead of them. I have nothing else to say, he whispered to himself as they finished their ascent to the peaks. The glass dome of his observatory had been shattered, but the metal beams remembered the shape they had supported, like bones in an elephant graveyard. His mighty scope, which had once pierced the sky to find God, was gone. A small mob had gathered at the cliff's lip, but they parted for him and the three Azadans. He saw they looked tired and bloodied from their night of lynch work. Their eyes were glazed over with what they had done, and when the magician stepped up to the edge to peer over the side, he saw why. Far below, the sparkling beauty of the mountainside was marred where the charlatans lay. Their broken bodies were bloody shadows around the shattered remains of his telescope. The brass rings and lenses thicker than a man's arm had come apart in an unmendable heap. It was just a thing, thought the magician, a tool. But it was a part of me, my connection to God. Life will go on after I cease to be, and the stars will still shine when my perception ends. Yet I fear I shall miss it, all of it, even the fear itself. A rough push put an end to the words in his mind. Empty air pulled at him faster and faster as the magician finally fell from grace.
That's a killer closing line, man.
Thank you.
Nice.
Absolutely killer closing, man. Oh, I had a lot of fun with that.
We had two kinds of soaring in there.
Yeah.
One in the past and one on the last line.
Thank you. Yeah. I was I like to approach a prompt from multiple angles sometimes, but obviously this was they married each other quite well with the symbolism, I think.
I think
The
astrology.
idea of hubris. Go on,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, the idea of hubris.
I was going to say astrology is a functional thing that can allow you to politically climb in that manner. It's a really interesting setup. I think the idea of accurately fate reading, but scientifically, that's a really cool concept.
Would the setting loosely be medieval Persia, or?
Yeah, I was sort of imagining it as like a proto-Renaissance like Sasanian society, so like the sort of pre-Persians, but essentially Persia. But if it at the sort of the dawn of a kind of Renaissance, and obviously it's sort of a little bit magical and a little bit mystic. Yes, the Shah and Azadan are both ranks inside Persian nobility.
The mood was very much ancient Persia, but of course the idea of like actual telescopes would be at least late medieval, I guess. But I do like the idea. I currently write a story set in ancient Mesopotamia that also features a telescope, which of course they weren't yet able to build.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say that your story does that, or?
No, just a story that I'm writing at the moment.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so strange. Oh, interesting. Well, snap. Yeah.
The different takes on how people were allowing these prophecies to run their lives, like the guy saying that his brother wouldn't kill himself because it wasn't prophesized. That's a fascinating thing to put on a character, like someone who would be better off gone, who persists because they are fated to do so. That's really fun. I really enjoyed that. Also, him like aggressively prophesizing at the end out of like rage and desperation. That was really cool. It's like if he knows something bad's gonna happen to him, so like
It also makes me think of a magic system where making a prophecy is basically just writing fate as a means of like changing fate.
I was into like control people. Yeah, no, that's an interesting take. I think. Yeah, it's that one was a section that just sort of it did occur to me. I didn't plot that one out. It just occurred to me that if he had absolutely nothing left, he would just spend his cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, largely just to like fuck with people and be deemed to be right in the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that's how you'd react if you were politically climbing and then they decided they were going to throw you out of your own telescope hole?
Yeah, I think there's something absolutely horrendous, isn't there, to have climbed so high and then to be effectively like legally murdered.
Yeah.
That idea of just having everything essentially, because he mentions that he was the master of a court, and you mentioned earlier, Silas, this idea of hubris. Like he clearly has a lot of hubris. So for all of that, the core of it was supposed to be around the idea of like that kind of man reckoning with the fact that he's about to stop. Everything else is going to go on, but he's about to stop, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And then another thing that it made me think of is he has grown so powerful that he maybe was harboring ideas of immortality in a way. I think that's a thing that comes with getting so powerful, like becoming Elon Musk in medieval Persia or something. But in a way, as soon as you acquire that much power, your position is actually much more precarious than the position of just a random person who thinks about surviving all the time, but they have way less people who want to murder specifically them.
Yes, I think you're right. It's a very brittle kind of power, isn't it? Because there clearly is some sort of hereditary nobility inside the story, and so his power is just on him and the fact that he is alive. So you can defeat him by stopping that from being the case.
And that I think that kind of power is. I think the Elon Musk remark wasn't even that far off. I mean, it's basically the same kind of hubris. It's basically something we see in figures like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and you're
although
right,
they end up being led to butcher blocks or cliff
well,
sides.
not yet anyway. But yeah, I think you're right. And they do a lot of stuff to do with they do a lot of investing in like longevity sciences and things like that, don't they? Because they are trying to live longer to extend their lives, and all of the space race stuff that they're doing between these billionaires feels very much like they are trying to extend their control and their sphere of influence beyond this planet.
It's
yeah.
You know that they talk about the most noble thing to do is planting a tree because you'll never see it. It does feel like they're trying to cheat that, doesn't it? In a way, they plant the tree and then I'll have science keep me around until my tree is fully grown. There's definitely an air of that to it.
Also, I want to own all the trees and then I want to cut them down for fuel.
For my big rocket.
Because when I'm done, we can plant trees on Mars.
Famously good for planting trees, Mars.
Yeah.
God damn.
I saw Matt Damon. He made that potato on Mars.
He cried when he grew one potato.
Yeah, trees are next, mate. It's a simple step from potato to tree.
Elon Musk watches the movie and thinks, what a loser. Might have done so much better.
Well, he would have taken the harem with him for a start, I think.
Yes, please.
Was that a yes, please, for being in his harem, or?
Yeah,
Is it?
sure.
Yeah.
I want to go to Mars.
Is that how you're going to get to Mars? You're going to blow your way to Mars.
You better believe it.
All right, I think we've put this off for long enough, but I think it's time to move us on to the next story. Silas, are you
Oh.
up for giving us a reading?
Oh dear. I have to write. Okay, yeah, I think I am.
Wonderful.
Let's have it.
Soar 2.0. I'm so proud of you, Johnny. Why did I put on its speaker? Rivera smirks over from the passenger seat as she runs through the prescribed checks on her service weapon. Looks hard on her, that smirk. Thanks, Mom, I mumble. Sorry I can't make it for dinner tonight. Work. I loosen my tie, casting Rivera an apologetic grin, hoping to hit just the right amount of embarrassment not to make me look weak. Gotta go, love you. Before she can respond, I swipe the call away. An ever so slightly awkward silence lingers in the car, tinged with Rivera's woodsy perfume. She clears her throat. I'm proud of you too, sir. One more word, Special Agent, and you're suspended. I bite my lip, worried she'll take it seriously, but she just chuckles. She holsters her gun, adjusts her blazer. Just teasing, John. Ready to kick off this career-defining raid? Hell yeah, I exhale. Let's bag that fucker. With a gesture, AR screens come to life on the windshield. Headcam feeds of agents already in the building. Schematics of the 63rd floor of this glass and steel monstrosity looming over us. And glowing dots mapping movement inside as captured by surveillance drones and extrapolated by algorithms. But no need to bother with the details. We got the nerds at HQ for that. And all looks well. I can already picture one of those fancy gold thingies on my desk, engraved with Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Jonathan Marks. Anyway, business before pleasure. I unmute and address the task force. You know the drill. No lethal force, but no one's going to sue over bruises either. A chuckle crackles over the line. Green light. Go in and good luck. The headcams spring into motion, green dots converging on Tusk's office. I swipe the interface away and turn to Rivera. We're going into... I want to see that billionaire piece of shit's face when we bust him. Her eyebrows arch in that mocking yet flirtatiously familiar way. How very cop flick of you. What can I say? I'm old school, and I don't pretend you don't love cop movies. I throw the car door open, step out, click my neck. I'm an investigator. Got a shout over the buzz of the city. And I got you figured out, Rivera. Tusk and his Soar modules may be the big case, but what film to take you out to? Bigger case still. Wait, what? She calls as I march towards Tusk's Tower of Babel. Take me out? Like, on a date? Eyes on the mission, Special Agent. I don't look back. Can't risk a disheartening truth on her face. Not now. Not before this arrest. And after? Well, who wouldn't want to date me then? We've been chasing the source of these Soar modules for months. Biggest fucking drug epidemic since Redline. Nasty stuff. What was I? 19? Addicts and in a frenzy going on bloody rampages in the street with knives and axes and whatnot. Scary shit. Good thing Soar ain't like that. Ain't a proper drug at all, really. Just a game. A VR module. Insidious one, though. Gets you stuck in La La Land. We flash our badges in the lobby, drones swarming in behind us to scan the startled faces of corporate shits too rarely reminded they're not untouchable. Company security scrambles, no doubt receiving panic calls from upstairs by now. But this ain't some intercorporate mercenary attack. This is official business. Never fuck with corporate, unless you're the feds. We elbow our way to the elevators, the override card from HQ drawing a rewarding ding. And when we arrive at Tusk's office, the boys already have him cuffed, along with two suits who were just presenting some prototype. Tip was good then. Place is dim, faces starkly lit by a greenish glow from the AR pitch slide still floating midair. Some graphs of dopamine levels and life data collection. What the fuck is this? I whisper as I approach. Tusk still has that defiant spark in his eyes, like he'll come out on top somehow. Can't fathom the alternative. He's unimpressive up close, saggier than the pictures. Bit of a bulge and a bald spot. Wasn't he sexiest man alive or something? I snort. Turning people into zombies ain't enough. I try to decipher the graphs. Now you wanna, what, feed on their dreams? You a fucking vampire? Tusk sighs. Is this really necessary, Agent? He squints at my badge. Marks? Figures. He sniggers like it's a joke of the century. Idiot. You'll find I already found what I need. I nod at the sleek box on his desk. A wire protrudes, ending in a neural jack. Next-gen Soar, no doubt. But enlighten me about one thing. This is an ingenious piece of neurotech, right? Feedback loop generating a virtual experience based on the user's hopes and desires, etc. Paradise in a box? I tilt my head. To what end? Tusk scoffs. Seriously? You have to ask? Yeah, you're an entrepreneur, right? Well, you sell once everybody's hooked on this crap. Didn't you just blow $500 billion on Starport? Big hunk of metal 20,000 miles over the Pacific with a freaking space elevator dangling from a nanofiber cable? Impressive, but who's going to book a space trip if they can just, I point at the box, check in and soar to the stars? He laughs. It's not real. Soar isn't for people who can afford the real thing. By all means, he gestures towards the module. Give it a try, Mr. Marx. It's meant for you, small people with small minds. I shake my head. Just the smug piece of shit I imagined. Jonathan! I flinch. It comes from the outside. Rivera touches my arm. You okay, sir? Jonathan, the door! Yeah, just get the door, Jonathan, you lazy fuck! I sigh. Just stay here for a minute. I've got to sort this out. Won't be long. I hurry into the hallway, close the door behind me, and pull the cable from my temple. Jonathan! Mom still wails from the living room. It's been ringing for a fucking minute straight! I stand up, swaying with post-link dizziness. A tin clatters to the floor. With stiff joints, I maneuver around the pizza boxes. Ghost images of an office hallway overlap my vision, and I keep reaching for a chest hold so that isn't there. Mom sits on the sofa, wine bottles stacked nearby. She looks up from her decade-old smartphone and frowns, too scared of the implant. I keep telling her they come free with the contract, just a tiny prick in the temple. She has that loathing look. I keep wondering who of us it's for. The doorbell rings again, a sound just as stinging as that cold ashtray stench in the air. Who's got a doorbell anymore? Well, that's a fucking museum. The door! I shuffle over, look through the peephole. Rivera. My stomach contracts. Chest thumping, I open the door. What are you... hi. She wears a green hoodie, hair loose. Not on duty, then. Hi, John. She pulls a face, glancing at the passed-out bum in the hallway. Smell of piss wafts over. Don't mind him, I mutter. He's harmless. What do you want? She produces an envelope. I stare at it. What's that? The money. What money? Hush money. For the NDA you refused to sign. She ain't making sense. I didn't get the money precisely because I refused to sign that NDA. Rivera smiles, pained. I told them I'd go on record with our Soar investigation. They made the same offer they made to you, and are you out of your mind? After they sacked me? I know, I just... What's there on their face? Sympathy? No. Pity. Pity for pathetic Jonathan Marks, who moved back in with his mom. I thought you could use it. You deserve it, John. You stood up to them. Yeah, poor honey over it. That's gonna help, bitch. Stick it up your ass, is what I think. Oh, that's nice, is what I say. Cash. I haven't seen that in a while. Fits right in with Mom's antiques. Yeah, it wouldn't, she grimaces. Be a good look to wire your money, career-wise. Fucking coward, is what I think. See, is what I say, taking the envelope. The smile blossoms. Looks as hard on her as ever. Look, I say, maybe we can get a drink some. But I remember I'm not jacked in. Remember I'm in sweatpants and I haven't showered in a while. Never mind, sorry. It's okay. Oh, fucking A, it's okay. Wouldn't want to continue my day without your absolution, Agent Rivera. She's probably just relieved she's got me off her conscience. Fuck her. Oh, and this. She pulls something bulky from her bag. Brass trophy the shape of a badge on a pedestal. Agent of the month. You left it at the office. Why, cave your skull in with it or choke on it, would you? Oh, right, I say, taking it. Her mouth curls, half smile, half something uglier, and she leaves. Guess she won't be continuing our secret investigation after all. Nobody will. They're all just fine with this shit flooding the streets. This trophy represents what they wanted me to be. Glorified paperweight, pretending to be meaningful. What are you standing there for? Mom negs. Move! I realize I've stopped between her and that archaic screen she wastes her hours on, staring at the breast joke in my hand. Move, Jonathan! I paid for rehab, I mutter. Twice. All my savings. Mom's eyes twitch. Anger had always been her way to deal with shame. Anger and wine. You ungrateful little... She falls silent very suddenly. I lick my lips and taste it. Salty, coppery. Weird. There was a spray there when I bashed that trophy in her face. She still has that loathing look. One eye still twitches. I make it stop. Erase that look. Feels like exercise. A good paperweight had to use after all. With dripping hands, I shuffle back to my room and jack back in. Still gotta make that arrest. Still gotta ask Rivera out on that date. Back in the hallway outside Tusk's office, a text lights up on my retina display. Mom's. I really am proud of you, Johnny. XO. A knot releases, letting in a tide of warmth. I smile as I open the door back to my soaring moment of triumph. Could be nice, dinner with Mom. Maybe I could carve out an hour or two.
Whoa, you got so much in there. That was fast, and I liked it. I really enjoy cyberpunk worlds, so thank you for indulging me there, because that was some good cyberpunk.
I need like all the bits on bits of paper so I can then separate them out into what was real and what happened and what order, because my brain is still spinning around. Holy crap, man.
I also really like space elevators, so I like that you got one of those in there too. That just felt like you were playing Ben Bingo, to be honest. It was a good time. It was a good time. I really liked the turn when he was no longer when it turned out that he was using that billionaire's tech to experience a fantasy of arresting that billionaire again.
Yeah.
That felt very well observed with in particular with stuff like with Twitter, like with because obviously Tusk is just one constant different from the person that I think the story is aimed at. It's with Twitter, there was lots of sort of criticisms of Musk on Twitter. So it was like using his own technology to criticize him. So I really liked that because you just took it to another level with a really cool like cyberpunk twist, and I liked that a lot. Thank you.
Have you are you familiar with the book
Thanks.
Feed by M.T. Anderson?
Nope. Well,
I
yes,
think
now I am at least with a name and noting it down.
I think you'd really enjoy it. There's some similar. It's a book I love, and there were some really similar themes, like whole kind of like separating self from the virtual, and people who haven't adopted the tech, and how people start to view them when they are on the feed, as it is in that book.
Feed. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think
Noted down.
there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do there, and you did a lot of it there. That blurring of the realities, where it's a memory, but is it a real memory? Is it an altered memory?
Mm.
And he's so detached from reality because of it that he makes wild decisions in real life and then retcons them back in his digital fantasy, and it's gross. I think that's the right word for this man is gross and hard to comprehend, and that's a really interesting thing to do, especially for a POV.
It has the energy of somebody that was really kicking it and then has become a bit of an incel. Do you know what I mean? Like the way that he like got in his own way when he was about to ask her out, and then was like, "Wait, but I'm not jacked in. I'm in sweatpants." And the fact that like he uses her in his fantasies that he builds in this Soar 2.0. That was it. There were loads of really good stuff in there. I liked it a lot. I also liked the tactical operations jargon early on to just set things up really cleanly. Know the vibe. Has a bit of that kind of like devil may care federal agent energy to it as well,
Yeah.
which is always very it can be very endearing, can't it? And then it sort of takes a bit of a turn because there's some cop brutality stuff in there, isn't there? It's like no one's going to sue over bruises, like it's good. The other thing that I really liked that I thought was very good world building was this isn't an intercorporate mercenary attack, implying that happens, and like that it could happen on like someone's HQ. It made me think very, very much of Shadowrun, the tabletop role playing system Shadowrun, where the mega corporations are always at each other's throats, and they all have private military companies to at their beck and call to fuck with each other. That had a lot of stuff in it that I liked a lot.
I'll say also the space isn't for poor people angle from Tusk is such a fascinating look. It's interesting that you both had a space thing. I suppose it's not unusual because it's because of Soar, but
Yeah.
the fact that one was one man who had the ability to read space in a way that others couldn't, and then the next man who could go to space in a way that others couldn't. I think it's interesting that you both ended up with a space thing. And I did find it funny when he was like, "Yeah, but it's not the real thing. I'm going to go to space. This is for you poors who can't go to space."
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the poor people won't be able to consume stuff that at a significant rate or in a significant magnitude for rich people to get richer. So they will just have to be discarded in a way that can be glossed over. And then rich people can buy each other stuff. And then the world, I don't know, collapses. That would be one step before that collapse.
It's capitalism is a death cult. You heard it here first. So I have just realised something, which I think obviously you will have done deliberately, but all of the sensory stuff that you build into that rather difficult home life that he had, with the smell of cigarettes and the stench of piss in the hallway and things like that. Am I right in thinking there wasn't any of that in what turned out to be in the Saw 2.0, the sort of fantasy at the beginning? Like, did you transition into describing scenes with senses more when he comes into the real world?
I did do that less on purpose than you. Of course, I did it on purpose. It was a genius idea that I had, and I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, but it may very well be, and that's the case for. I found that's the case for everything that I wrote, and then I heard people talk about it. Lots of stuff that makes sense. I didn't deliberately do, but in retrospect, I find myself agreeing that that's probably why I'd done it on a subconscious level. Because I mean, I'm just there putting myself in my POV, and I guess that would just be more artificial, more artificial than in my imagination than when he gets out. I did deliberately want it to be more visceral, like the sensory experience when he gets out.
Well, I think you nailed that. I really felt his hatred of the scenario that he was in through the senses, because it just felt like it would be an assault to be in that apartment block, to be in that apartment, especially when you've come out of this like clean, completely submerged mental state in a pristine technological way. I
guess in my head, that first sequence would have a lot of like similarities with, like, I reference cop movies, but with a movie in which he is the main character. The only thing that wouldn't match that hard-boiled movie hero is some internal insecurity stuff that's shining through, because it doesn't override his inner self. It just overrides the world he's in. Makes it one that caters to his whatever he wants.
There's a line near the start where you say, I think his mum says it looks hot on her, and it's kind of like a pointed comment implying that it doesn't look hot on him. I think that's sort of where I got that impression from as well. Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with that story. Thank you. Nico, I think you're up, mate. I think it's story 3 time.
Yes, I suppose so.
Let's go.
So, the spire of Carmorea prison sits like a rotten tooth jutting into the sky of Avis Centrum. The first 200 floors are filled with dissidents and incompatibles. These people live simple lives akin to the prisoners of old. They walk in rows and break apart minerals for construction. The planet ships these beautiful stones to every corner of the known cosmos. It does not occur to these broken souls that their hammer blows will birth the fundaments of great palaces and holy temples in far-off lands. Instead, they shatter rock until their time of freedom comes, or in some cases, they are moved up the floors beyond until the 250th are for violent prisoners. They self-govern. A might makes right society. Barrels of flour are passed up to them monthly. Filthy rainwater, thick with rock dust, is pounded into it. A hacking, choking life of stone-baked bread and filth is all they have remaining. None descend from here. Those peaceful enough to warrant a return to the lower floors and eventual freedom are chewed up by the system quite literally. Meat between the bread is a treat for the twisted savages that live between the 2 and 2.5. Beyond that, the tower becomes thin and ugly. Few creatures have been sent this high in Kalmona who could deserve a punishment beyond savagery and cannibalism. The folk deemed worse for society are here. Not simple dissidents who spray slogans and cry out against the gutting of the homeworld, but rival politicians and military leaders disenfranchised with the way the planet has gone, and their families. One such man has been in Kalmana for as long as he can remember. He may have been born here, if his own memory is to be trusted. What is there beyond black stone with ragged edges? Those edges now had been worn smooth by his use of them. He had, at some great mercy, a window, a simple rectangle cut from the stone. If he dared, he might fit through it, if he could only deal with his hip bones and his shoulders. Too broad they are. But if he could, he would look down and see that the ground was so far below that he may as well look up at the sky and try to leap into it. His name is long forgotten, but he calls himself Ik. He has named himself after a story he was told, through a crack between the cells. He had loved that gap, slender though it was. It brought the coiling tendrils of someone else's breath. She had been kind to him through the gap, and he to her. They had told each other stories. Hers were better. They came from the outside, and were filled with wondrous things that Ich had yet to have explained to him. His stories stole from hers, picking their pockets for names and places, lining their petticoats with the frills of narratives he barely understood. And his favourite was the story of Icarus. He would hold his knees as she spoke from the darkness, and their slice in the void allowed the words to pass to him. Wings of wax, she said, and he flew up, 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 and the sun came too close and he fell. Wings of wax. Ich had never seen wax, but he reckoned there would be better things to make your wings from. Like what? She had asked, with a smile sound on her words. Like birds. Make wings of wings. They are the perfect material for it, are they not? Or the birds would not make their wings out of them. Her laugh was rare, but it was delicious. It had come into his cell that night, and he had been in love. But her screams had come into his cell too. When they'd asked if she was ready to betray her husband yet. When they'd asked her questions, Ich could not even start to unfold. He had called out when the sound of breaking reached him. He had placed his eye against the crack and tried to find light. There was nothing but the screams and breaking. He had to save the stories. So he tried the window, perhaps to climb away and find her window too. And then he did not know. They had killed her, and with her the precious stories. No more wings of wax, no wings of bird. He thought on it every night, and worked on it every day. Those wings of bird, he reckoned, the perfect material. He would fly away from the sun then, as swift as the birds he watched from his window hole. He would need birds. They would come for food, but he had so little. But piece by piece he found the sharpest rocks in his carved hell. And one day, when he was sure he had gathered the sharpest he could, he sliced away some meat from his arm. Wings of wax, wings of bird, he repeated, and he laid the slice of temptation upon the sill. And the bird did come, huge and ugly, with a puckered head. Its skin was pink and raw, and its neck hung in folds. But such wings it had. He caught it as it ate of him. This one he took apart to figure out how the wings work. He would need a great many birds, he knew, to make wings that would carry him. Wings of bird, not wings of wax. So he offered himself piecemeal to the birds, and as he killed them, wept for their deaths. They screamed when he bashed them, just as she had screamed through his gap in the wall. And he ate rich bellyfuls of bird meat in exchange for the meat he gave to them. But Ick kept the feathers, and kept some skin, and slowly, oh so slowly, he began to construct his hope for freedom. He would be Icarus, but better. No wings of wax. When he knew he was almost done, he realized he could afford to cut no more. His arms were thin and tired, his legs near gone. He had to save his hands to catch and pluck and make. So when it came time for the final bird, he lay upon the sill, with his face exposed to the sky. Many birds were coming by then, for they knew his sill meant food, and he was not fast enough to catch them all. Then a great crow came, so large it blocked the sun, and Ick stayed still. As it plucked an eye in payment, he did not scream for fear of startling it. It cawed a mighty caw, and flecks of jelly from the costed orb cascaded to the sky. It was paid, and Ick took its feathers then. He stitched the wings to himself now they were done. Great looming knots of bird entrails punctured his bare skin. He was round about then with thin ribbons, like a gift to the outside world. He dragged what remained of him onto the sill, and realized how easily he might escape now, thin as he was, were it not for his wings. With an effort he shunted himself, and felt them pull at his stitches. Again he heaved. Again, blasted wings of bird. And with a cracking sound he was free. He pulled with every fibre that remained, and felt the wind catch in his wings. They billowed, and for a moment he flew. The world spread beneath him, and he watched clouds roll. He saw the brown where once green had been. He saw the great scars upon the planet's face, delving deep into its heart. He felt its agony at being torn apart as his stitches began to give way. A rain of feathers followed him, and a world he did not know rushed up to meet him. He did not scream, as his one good eye drank in a world he did not know. In that moment as he plummeted, he revelled in the freedom of it. He felt the pain in his flesh and knew that he had been mad. Wax and feathers were not the same. Of course he could not fly like a bird. Icarus needed wings of wax to climb and meet the sun, not wings of bird. Wings of wax.
Very beautifully disgusting.
Thank you.
I would agree. That's a deeply unpleasant point of view, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. God. Also, really nice take on just doing the Icarus thing. I liked it. I thought as soon as that became clear, I was like, yeah, why not? Go for it. It also reminded me a bit of the story that Adrian Tchaikovsky wrote when he came on the pod.
Because of the window. And
the window, exactly,
Yeah.
yes. And then you went on later to say,
you
like,
said it.
yeah, and then but I thought you were referencing it because you then said later on that he would pick the pockets of her stories in order to like construct his own with the names and places and stuff like that. So I thought there was like a slight meta detail to
Oh
that one.
man, no, I'm not that smart.
Yeah, really liked it. Really liked it. Are they dwarves?
No, but they can be.
I liked that. I wrote down prison Welsh dwarves. And then when you did the whole like rock dust bread thing, I thought that might be like a Pratchett dwarf reference to the dwarven bread.
So that happened because I was thinking about like, oh yeah, they put the rainwater in the flour and make bread, and then I thought, well, if they're just constantly smashing rocks,
Yeah,
that air and water would just be manky, wouldn't it? Just filled with rock dust and
mine runoff, and would kill humans. So I think that was why I also went dwarves. Like I think they're a bit hardy, aren't they? They can take these horrendous situations and treatments that humans would just die from, like the main character like carving huge sections of himself off. The human would die,
yeah.
but a dwarf wouldn't necessarily.
In the beginning, we had all these science fiction details. With like there was references to like a multi-planetary society and stuff like that. So I was thinking about Dune in a way because it was also very mystical in a way, or all had a very ancient feel to it. And I thought it could be like a mining penal colony thing that the Harkonnens might do in the Dune universe. But then you went somewhere else completely. And then mythology, yeah, it's absolutely impossible to make a non-weird story out of mythology.
Yeah, I think mythology is root level weird, which is why we all like it in a way, isn't it? It's such a perversion of normality. It's why those stories stick.
Yes, totally agree.
I think the dwarf thing's really fun because I definitely had in mind that they weren't humans. They weren't normal people. But I didn't know what they were. I'd never had quite decided. So I think dwarves fits.
Well, I think also the Dune thing fits as well because they're all they're often quite like augmented in that universe. Yeah. So they might be able to survive more than humans can right now, if that makes sense.
But also in a way where they don't completely understand the augmentations because they're all using technology that is so old and looking back on a history that is so vast.
Yeah.
In as a mythology thing, he was also kind of inspired by Grendel, the main character, in this born in this dark place and not quite human, and that's where it started. It went a long way away from it, but that kind of mashing of mythology was where it started.
I like that. So you also had Odin as well with the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing felt kind of Sisyphean as well, didn't it? It was just this like this endless bashing of rocks. Yeah, I really enjoyed that whole section at the start where you were talking about the dissidents and the incompatibles.
Yeah.
Really, really unpleasant. And this idea of them just shattering rock for Greek palaces elsewhere in the cosmos. Yeah, like it had so much going on, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was filled with wonderful descriptions. If I had to pick a favorite bit, it was
Yeah.
the bit with them telling stories to each other through the crack in the wall.
Yep.
I think that was really well realized, and you built up how much it would mean to somebody that had to have their little microcosm of the world massively expanded by somebody that actually knows what's going on.
Yeah.
To the point where they start like aping them and all the rest of it, and then to listen to that person get tortured to death. Yeah, that broke me. It fully broke me, and it broke him, as we saw. If he could have been more broken.
Was
yeah. Go on.
was the main character supposed to be aware of all that stuff you had, all the description you had in the beginning? Because it was like one continuous point of view, but it seems to me that the first, I don't know if it was the first third or the first quarter, that is the setup for the world and this tower, would be something that this character wouldn't actually be aware of to the extent
So
that you described it, right?
He is not. It was or it's intended to be a third person narrator, but it was the woman who died did know all of these things, and so it was kind of to give you the idea that world was then all of this is happening, and he's pulled away to nothing. His world is just that cell, so that when he's launched out into it at the end, he catches glimpses of it, but can't really understand why why the planet is dead or dying. I really enjoyed it, but maybe it needs more words. This is the common tiny bookcase thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it needs
Maybe
more
it
words.
needs more
Maybe,
words.
yeah. It is difficult to switch POV, and through it. So to go into a first person narration from a third person narration is a difficult shift. I wonder if there's a way to because I don't want to lose any of that first person. Sorry, the third person narration, because the description of the present is fucking excellent. So that
Yeah.
it needs both, but maybe because it goes from one and flips over into the other.
I guess it also has to do with the delivery that very much feels like we are listening to that character in the latter half. But
True, yeah.
But then with it needs more words thing. I mean, it's the general dilemma of your podcast that you like great concepts and science fiction and fantasy, which are generally not well suited for this. So it's generally a challenge to set up a world and then tell a story in 1,000-something words.
Absolutely. It's I will just mention it because I mentioned an RPG for your one, Silas, but it did also remind me a bit of the Spire tabletop role playing game.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Which has the levels of elves that have been taken over by a different group of elves, and each level is different. And I sort of felt that as you were going up, and the scale of the crimes changed, and it became more political as you got higher. Yeah, liked it all. Thought it was very, very strong.
Yep.
There was only one line that I thought was overwritten, and considering there was a lot of really bombastic description, it just sort of stuck out for me because I had my eyes fully closed. I was completely vibing with the story, and it just stood out for me. So I will mention it because it's worth doing. It's you describe the eye that the raven takes or the crow takes as the costed orb.
Yes.
That didn't work for me.
Okay.
I feel like that's just a tad overwritten. I think you were doing such beautiful wordplay and keeping things like really grounded, and then that kind of stood out as potentially like a bit grandiose and potentially not just didn't quite pass muster.
That's fair. I think you're probably right.
For me, it all overindulged in the words, but in a good way. So for me, it was
luxurious. I think is maybe the word I'd use to describe it.
Nothing if not overindulgent, boys.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be thinking about this idea of the the smile of sound on her words coming through the crack in that wall for a while. Just being able to like smell someone's facial expressions.
Yeah.
As well, things like it's just, really good. I think if you had to cut this down to like half its size, that's the bit I would keep. But I really wouldn't want to lose the initial description of this really terrible prison on this awful planet.
Well, what you all should do with all your stories is extend them, really.
We're all going to write stories now set just in those middle 50 floors where apparently they're just all eating each other.
The Might is Right 50 floors was rough. That sounds like a rough place. No, thank you.
It's like, oh, what happened? Oh, I spat at a guard. So what happened? Oh, I'm getting ate. They're going to eat me. I know I'm going to get eaten.
Sending me somewhere to get eaten by other people. That's my point.
This talk now reminds me of some movie. I forgot the title. Maybe you know it. Where it's about people waking up from cryosleep and finding that their ship, that a whole lot of people who woke up from cryosleep generations ago, have resulted in this weird cannibal society that like lives in the ship. Do you is that?
That's not ringing a bell for me, but it sounds fucking brilliant and definitely up my street.
It.
Yeah.
Okay, then I really hope that you would just know the title because
no. It did remind me because I years ago for this podcast I did write a story. I don't know if you remember this one, Nick, but of the security guy wakes up.
That was Spare, wasn't it?
Spare, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Spare. The security guy that wakes up from cryo, and whilst he's been asleep, the people who are running the ship have had generations and generations. It sounds like it's a similar sort of thing, but I didn't have as much cannibalism in mind. I think they were just using spare bodies to continue their longevity.
Adrian Tchaikovsky also did it in Children of Time.
Wicked.
Very well.
Gosh, that's an episode that's going to stick with me for a while. Real tour de force, that one. Well, I think we've discussed this. I think I thought it was interesting that you both went for sort of like skyscrapers at least in the first third and fourth of your stories. There's always like links, isn't there, between all of them, and I liked that.
I went through several iterations of ideas. Most of them had high places. Yeah.
I think that's the prompts often lead in a direction, don't they? And it's how you fight against it or go with the flow or in between. It's I always love it. I always hearing what the guest has written. I really enjoyed your cyberpunk story, and I always like seeing what Nico's coming out with as well, because I don't know. I wonder if there's many people that have listened to so many of each other's stories before. I don't know if that's been done on the scale before.
In an old folks' home, probably not.
It doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like you've influenced each other that much, in like that your voices start sounding the same or something. You are still as distinct as you were in the earlier episode.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind, and I appreciate that. I think maybe it's something that we work at. I know occasionally I do consider a prompt and think, I think Nico might do that.
And then you okay.
Yeah, and then I step away from it. Which did happen a little bit with the mastermind prompt that we did on the last episode, which will be coming out before this one. And I think you probably do the same sometimes, don't you, Nico? And it's just sort of like it's possible. But then sometimes you just lean into it, and then the other person's done something completely different. Because in no way has Nico become predictable after 200 episodes. That is not the case. So I think if you were going to be predictable, you would have become predictable already.
Hey, I've still got time.
You've got time.
Right,
anyway,
Silas.
Yes.
Lovely, Silas. Before we close this episode out, give people a week to read your book, and then come back for the interview. Where can people go to keep up to date with what you are doing?
You can find all my socials on my website, morbidtastepublishing.com. That's one word, Morbid Taste Publishing. And other than that, I'm on Blue Sky as @Silas A. Bischoff. Again, one word, Silas A. and then BISCHOFF .bsky.social, so at silasabischoff.bsky.social, and Instagram as at silasabischoff.author.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And could we have a quick description of your brilliant novel and where people can get it?
My novel, A Crow Named Torment, can be bought online. Every regular book selling place should have it online. Not so much brick and mortar, because that's the fate of the indies. But if you would order it in a brick and mortar store, that would be beneficial to spreading the indie gospel. Where else? Well, that would be mostly Amazon, mostly. And I do not particularly like Amazon, but it would probably be the place that would be best for me, because it's the one place I can hope for people finding it that don't already know my name and know the title. And every sale there pushes me in the algorithm. So
Excellent.
even though I don't like
And
Amazon.
what's the book about? Could you give people a rundown of it?
It is kind of slightly wacky fantasy setting that I dubbed The One City. And there will be other stories set in that setting, where the idea is that you have a city that is so old that it spreads an entire landmass, and people are not able to leave it within their lifetimes. And it has grown so complex that it is dangerous to even leave your local district. And in this story, I tell the story of a crow that is captured by an astronomer, and then we have a bit of a sorcerer's apprentice thing going on, and we have a bit of. I'm not good at this. I'm really not good at.
I think you're
providing
actually
a log line.
You've absolutely you've lit my imagination with this idea of a continent that is a city, and it's actually not possible to move fast enough to leave the city during your own lifetime. That really got me, and this idea of how far do you stray from your own kind in that scenario? It sounds brilliant. It sounds brilliant. And I know at FantasyCon, Nico attended a reading that you did.
Yes, I was lucky enough to hear you read the first chapter, and gang, get it. It's good.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For rich ginger tones on their scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne, and for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?